Namaskar, Namaste, Salam, Hola. My name is Navanita Bhattacharya and I'm in conversation with Sreemoyee Kundu on the Chai Chat and Community. Sreemoyee, may I call you Sree, please?
Yes, please do that.
Beautiful. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I live, the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nations, a place that we know as Melbourne, in the country called Australia. I pay my respects to elders past and present. I acknowledge that I live on lands whose sovereignty was never ceded. This always was and always will be Aboriginal lands. Sree, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It is such a pleasure on a Sunday evening to be talking to you and on issues that's so close to my heart as well.
I know, even the word pleasure is such a pleasure.
Oh, I love that. Bloody hell, I love that. Yes. You were a journalist for several years, a media strategist, before you became a novelist. You are the author of Faraway Music, the best-selling female erotica, Sita's Curse. I loved that book. You've Got the Wrong Girl and Cut. Most recently, you wrote the internationally acclaimed work of nonfiction on single women in India, Status Single.
Yes.
A leading columnist on sexuality and gender, Sree, you are also the recipient of NDTV L'Oreal Women of Worth Award, and fantastic in the literature category. You also wear the crown of the Queen of Erotica. And God, woman, that gives me so much pleasure just saying it.
Yes.
Sree is single and lives between Delhi and Kolkata. You are the founder of the community Status Single that aims to address 74.8 million single women in India. And you are all ready to curate and host. Somehow the word host always makes me think of ghost. Curate and host India's first ever summit in Bangalore this year, the SWIFT Summit, Single Women of India Forward Together. Good luck with that, Sree.
Thank you. Thanks.
I see you as bold, bloody beautiful, and a total badass. Oops, sorry if I've hurt the sensibilities of some of our viewers. Read the last one as Bindas. It was a few years ago here in Australia, where I am now, that you, Sree, decided to give in to your desire of being a novelist, if I'm not correct. That's what I read somewhere. Right. So on that note, I invite you to tell us, who are you, the real you, the you that we may not know, the you. I, for one, would love to know, Sree, whether you were brought up as a gender or as a human, the human you are today. Tell us about you.
So firstly, thank you so much to Chai, Chat and Community for having me. I think these three words, Chai, Chat, which in Bengali translates to a word Adda, and Community, are actually very, very important to me, so it's great to be a part of this. And, Australia has got a very, very special place in my heart and consciousness for two reasons. One is that, my best friend, my childhood best friend, who's like a sister to me, she got married to an Anglo-Indian boy. She's also an Anglo-Indian girl from Kolkata, from Loreto House. And she moved to Australia and they live in Perth. And her she has three beautiful daughters. Her firstborn, Michaela, is my goddaughter. So the first so the first time the name Mother was ever prefixed to my name was with my goddaughter Michaela Sky Martin,
Beautiful.
And I've been to Australia many times. Melbourne is one of my favorite cities in the world. But I'm so glad, Navanita, that you highlighted the indigenous and ethnic roots of Melbourne. because I think it's so easy to, under this whole consumer capital kind of economy that rears us and influences us, right? We often forget that, we are on sacred soil. I feel the same about many parts of my country. So it's great to acknowledge the forefathers, the ancestors, the ethnic communities who have walked those lands. So, and actually, my decision to be a writer happened when I visited my friend for my goddaughter's christening. And I was 33 years old then, I'm 43 now. So it's like 10 years of walking this path. And I remember on that flight, I was reading a book called Open, which is Andre Agassi's autobiography. It's one of my favorite autobiographies because usually I find autobiographies big bullshit because nobody says the truth.
Exactly.
They're just riding on the star power of the person. But Andre's autobiography was so honest, where he spoke about addiction, he spoke about a bad marriage, he spoke about falling in love with a woman older than him and being intimidated by her at the same time. He spoke about his father wound because his father was also his coach, so they had a very troubled and complicated relationship. I loved it. So when I reached Perth, I somehow told myself that, is the life that I have been leading all this while as a very acclaimed journalist. And then I had diversified into public relations. I was head of a very, very big APAC mandate for media strategy. I was asking myself, that is it all that I am meant to do in this life? And I think that question uh, it really is the epitome of who I am. Because I personally feel, and I believe this spiritually also, that we all come to this world with a purpose.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
that purpose will only reveal itself to you when you are ready to acknowledge the presence of that purpose in your life.
Yeah.
And there's a shift in consciousness. For me, that
Yeah.
happened in Australia.
Fantastic.
And I went back. Yeah, I spent 2 months in Australia. I traveled, from keeping my base as Perth because my best friend is very possessive, and she said, "No, you've come. You just have to be with us." But I did
Rightly
travel.
so. Rightly so.
I did travel. This was not my first visit to Australia, though, because when I was with India Today, heading one of their luxury magazines, I spent 1 month in Melbourne on behalf of Victoria Tourism. They had taken us, and we did the Gold Coast, we did all the Harley Davidson rides, Yarra Valley. Stayed at Four Seasons. So. And I love, in fact, I often joke, and I tell my friend, find me a hot Australian lover, and I'm willing to move. So,
Did you clarify male or female or any particular gender?
I clarified male because I'm straight as of now. I
Okay.
always see.
Fair enough.
Yeah, because gender, really your sexuality is a very fluid. Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's very fluid,
Absolutely.
and it can change any moment because it's based on a very human experience, of desire. So,
Absolutely.
you asked me that who I am. I think I am a very free-spirited, very, very fun-loving, and extremely badass person. But I think my external, manifestation is that, I always dress up, I look pretty. So yesterday, my friend who's staying with me is a gay man. And he said, "Oh, you're so vanilla. Look at you. You're so vanilla." So I said, "Okay, that's a new word."
That's a word, yes.
Yeah.
Did he unpack that for you, Sri?
Yeah, he did. Of course he did.
All right. Okay, talking about vanilla and talking about your free spirit and talking about you loving to dress up for yourself and the person that you want everyone else to see and know.
Yes.
And I'll go back to Sita's Curse only because I just love that book. as
Okay.
badass as it can be. And I
Lovely.
personally love erotica, especially well-written erotica. Not
Yes.
everyone has a knack for well-written erotica.
Right.
As
Right.
and as an empowered, self-loving woman that you are, you know about feminist, womanist, activist, writer Audre Lorde. I mean, I just love that woman, right?
Hmm.
And her work in, it's called Uses of the Erotic. And
Yes.
we know that she's an absolute expert at crafting evocative poetry, so some of her quotes, which all of us keep on using, that gets straight to the heart of the matter. I mean, there's no bullshitting, there's no beating about the bush, right? And in the Erotic as Power, which was published in 1978, I was 4 years old then. Audrey offers a detailed analysis of female power and why it is so often limited, constrained, labeled, and so quickly grabbed and put in a box, and left in the shelf to collect dust. But in modern India, you have let that female power, that raw sexuality of a woman, in not just your column, but in that particular book, Sita's Curse. The book revolves around Meera, she as the daughter, the bahu, the daughter-in-law, the lover, the insatiable whore, and as the goddess, right? Tell us what inspired you to write Sita's Curse in
So
India, 21st century.
yeah, actually, I'm often conferred this epithet, that you are India's first feminist erotica writer or the queen of erotica, and of course, my editor says that you should own your power. But the truth is that Navanita, we have such a strong history of erotic writing. Our Hindu culture, which is unfortunately now being, bastardized with this very, very dogmatic, a very closed, prudish, this right-wing Hindutva. That is
Yep,
not what our culture is at all. We
absolutely.
had a culture of polyamory in India along with polygamy.
Exactly.
you know we
Exactly.
had we had a strong eroticism, which I always say that good sex also, for instance, it is about your consciousness. There is a
Mm-hmm.
consciousness of sex.
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
just wham bam slam. Even a wham bam
Mm-hmm.
slam can actually open up a huge energy portal in you,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can have so many more like transcendental realizations and fallings and
Mm-hmm.
swimmings and plummetings through that. So
Mm-hmm.
the point is that we had Andal, who was a South Indian bhakti poet who wrote the most
Mm-hmm.
beautiful erotica, which
Yep.
she, and we've had Jayadeva's Geet Govindam. We had
Yep.
Kalidasa write the most beautiful lines, in adulation of a woman's body. Comparing the roundness of her buttocks to a kalash. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
erotica is not porn. Erotica is
Mm-hmm.
not smut.
Exactly. Exactly.
Erotica is the undersaid. Erotica is about desire. And there's a very
Absolutely.
famous line in Sita's Curse, which has become quite sort of the line now everybody ascribes to the book, which says, desire has no language, only signs. That's on the cover as well. It's like
Mm-hmm.
a.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel that. I mean, I was inspired actually by a woman
Hmm.
who I saw every day on my way to work when I lived and worked in Delhi,
Mm-hmm.
as a in Bombay as a journalist. And
Mm-hmm.
my office was in VT, Victoria Terminus, the Times of India building. I would live in
Mm-hmm.
Mahim. So for
Mm-hmm.
those, anybody is there who's from Bombay will know that you have to take this area called Baikulla, which has a lot
Acha.
of these old chawls. So
Acha.
there, at red light, my cab would inevitably stop, and I would look up, and there was this woman who wore the sari, the Sidha Pallu, and she was this
Mm-hmm.
absolute goddess. I mean, I would get aroused seeing her,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm-hmm.
just don't mean a physical,
Mm-hmm.
chemical arousal, but it was, she would never wear a bra. her blouse was very low cut, you know, and she was often, speaking on the phone, or she would be just, kind of drying her hair, or she would be feeding, chilies to her parrot in a cage. She would be bringing the clothes down from the clothesline, or just putting her face out and, drinking in the rain,
Oh, you
and
have a way with words. Mm-hmm.
yeah, and my cab driver was a guy called Karim Bhai, who is also
Mm-hmm.
immortalized in my first book, Faraway Music. So Karim Bhai, I think, also used to get very turned on by her sight, and he used to keep telling me, "Madam, ये आज भागने वाली है. देखिए आशिक के साथ बात कर रही है. ये भाग जाएगी. मैम ये नहीं रहेगी. कल नहीं मिलेगी." So I think me and Karim Bhai, we looked forward to that road. And every day I saw her for 2 years.
Right.
Every day. There wasn't a single day when she wasn't there.
Were you
And
never
then,
tempted to stop and stop and get to know her? No.
no, no, never, never.
Mm. Mm.
She remained trapped between memory and imagination, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And then we had the floods, July 26th, 2005, the floods of
Mm-hmm.
Mumbai.
Yeah.
And that was a catastrophic time because, I had to make a human chain, and, we walked back from VT to my home. I saw people drop into open manholes. There were people who were, who died of choking on the highway because the AC was on and the car doors got locked. And it was a real human tragedy.
Mm.
And I felt sick after that. I, had an infection called leptospirosis, which a lot of people got from being in that dirty water.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hospitalized like many people. And after that, when I resumed office after about 3 weeks, the first
Mm-hmm.
thing Karim Bhai said to me was that, "Ma'am, Baikulla was very badly affected. One of the worst
Mm.
flooding is a low-lying area. So I said, "Chalo, let's go." And we went and we stopped. That was the first time we actually stopped. That day,
Mm.
maybe I would have gone and spoken to her, but I never saw her again.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
she, so Karim Bhai later used to tell me, sometimes when we were driving in the pouring rain and, our eyes would longingly go to that deserted balcony, he would often say that, and that bird also in that cage was gone, that parrot who she
Mm.
used to feed. So Karim Bhai
Mm.
used to say, "ये तो लोहे के पिंजरे से भाग गई मैडम, शायद उसको सोने के पिंजरे की आदत है." you know she was trapped
Mm.
in a long cage. So that stayed with me. So the physical description of Meera, since you have read the book, is that woman, you know.
Got it. Mm.
And I wanted
Mm.
to, for me, I was always very intrigued by two things as a writer on sexuality. One is the way we either, a married Indian housewife in India, either
Mm.
she's the Pativrata Sati Savitri, or she's a
Mm.
slut, or she's
Mm.
Savita Bhava. And
Mm.
imagine how threatened, how minuscule uh, our masculinity and mardangi and sense of culture is, that the Congress government had to ban a bloody cartoon. Savita Bhabhi was a
Sarita
cartoon,
Bhabi. Mm. Mm.
online
Mm.
cartoon. It was not a
Mm.
real. I mean, look at the kind of item numbers we see. Look at the kind of
Exactly.
materials that we are seeing on OTT platforms with so much of verbal abuse. They show sexual violence, but we were threatened with a cartoon character. Why? Because उसके नाम के पीछे था भाभी. So भाभी
Correct.
तो माँ होती है. भाभी को
Correct.
तो माँ होना पड़ेगा. Bhabhi can't have sex. Bhabhi can't
Correct.
wear her sari below her navel. Bhabhi can't have a relationship with the Devar. Devar has to look at Bhabhi as Sita Maiya and all that
Mm-hmm.
drag.
Mm-hmm.
So, that, and also when I was writing the chapter, I actually met a girl who I call Neeti to protect her confidentiality from Jaipur. And
Mm-hmm.
Neeti had been, married when she was only 16 years old to a
Mm-hmm.
man who was almost 25, 30 years older to her. And
Mm-hmm.
he suffered from erectile dysfunction. So he was a very, a very sort of, how do I say it, cruel man. He used to be very, very physically,
Mm.
extremely kind of, abusive on her, very, very abusive. And finally, when Neeti was 19, she was actually paraded to a godman in Indore who was almost 60, who sodomized her, raped her, uh, had forceful anal sex with her. And Neeti's son, who was 5 when I met her, she was about 24, 25 then, was from that godman, you know. And the logic that was given by Neeti's in-laws and even her parents was that if you look at Mahabharata, all those Pandava princesses are all princes were all born from some Muni and Rishi, no, Vyas Muni, Surya Devata. No, what is all that? All that
She would have. They
Divya
came
Jyoti
from there.
from the palm of these Rishi Munis, and the next scene, the Kunti is pregnant. It's all
Yeah,
crap.
yeah. She would have been termed a slut and taken out of the
Yeah,
family if she had consensual relation
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
that person was.
yeah. So,
Instead was justified. Yep.
so she was this girl, Neeti. She was sodomized in her marriage. She was raped several times. Husband used to beat her up. He used to urinate on her. Was very cruel. And after she met me, I'm proud to say that it has taken 10 years. But Neeti has been able to get out of her marriage. Now she fights along with a very big NGO based in Jaipur and Delhi, her court case to get the custody of her son. And she's also now strong enough to say that once I get the custody of my son, I will put a police case on my husband. And I am willing to
Fantastic.
go for DNA test because of what was done to me.
Yep.
It was like prostitution. I
Yep.
was taken to this godman who
Yep.
actually impregnated me.
Yep.
And if you see, we have so much of sexual abuse and
Yep.
exploitation at the hands of organized religion, because
Yep.
women are the biggest consumers of all these Babaji,
Absolutely.
गुरुजी,
Absolutely.
स्वामी जी, मेरा बच्चा नहीं हो रहा है, स्वामी जी के जड़ी बूटी ले लो,
Yeah.
तुम्हारा sex life खराब है, go to some amma ji and she will hug you and something will happen.
Correct.
And
Correct.
I mean, with all due respect, I know there are people who actually worship these men. I don't have any faith in any man-made Babaji.
Of course
People
not.
like
Absolutely.
Sadhguru, people like Sri Ravi Shankar, people like
Absolutely.
Ramdev. How can a person who is an ascetic,
Exactly.
the meaning of sannyasi means you have renounced the world.
Correct.
You
Correct.
can't have television channels and be interviewing Kangana Ranaut and do Instagram videos and YouTube videos and be part of media conclaves and
Absolutely.
swim in money which is ill-begotten, and have industries and produce ghee and cow's milk and face packs and call yourself a guru. No, sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sri, I could not agree more. And there is a son of patriarchy here, Umesh Sharma, who has said, if you don't understand, you bloody woman, you keep your trap shut. So, patriarchy keeps getting nurtured and fostered by the sons and daughters that are in millions or billions, perhaps. But tell me something, Ian, did you have to do a lot of research? And I go back to, and you're right, that erotica has always been an intimate part of Indian culture. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at temples and architecture and all of that, right? And also poetry and literature from ancient times, which have been purposely shut out. But you brought it out in modern India, right? So
Yes.
was there a lot of critique like the Umesh Sharma we have now, who has the audacity to keep saying what he says,
Who is this person, Umesh Sharma? Who is he?
I don't know. He just put in a comment about it's the typical thing. If there was no such comment, I would be surprised, right? When strong women are communicating, talking
Oh,
about
Mr.
these issues.
Sharma, if you don't understand, keep your trap shut.
Correct.
What do you understand, sir, that you think we don't understand? And why should we keep our trap shut? We have been keeping our everything shut for so many generations. Kya mila hame? Every 7 seconds, a woman, your men folk are raping us, they are hitting us, look at what happened in Unnao again. those 3 girls poisoned and hung upside down from a tree. So if we don't keep our trap shut, are you threatening that you will do something like that to us, sir? And if we are keeping shut, how is it helping you? Why don't you keep shut then and listen to us and be a feminist brother and a feminist friend to us instead of being a patriarchal joker, one more joker? Why?
Yeah, and I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing. But tell me, Sri, was there a lot of criticism that you
No,
got? Were you
no,
ostracized from your friends,
no,
family,
no,
your folks?
not
No.
at all, not at all. Sita's Curse was one of the biggest bestsellers of the year in
Fantastic.
release. It continues to be one of Asia's biggest selling books. I am in talks with an international producer because I don't think a film like Sita's Curse will be allowed to release in India now under
Hmm.
the current political regime and other
Hmm.
kind of, even OTT platforms now are coming under a lot of moral policing. So I
Hmm.
think we're living in very dangerous times. We are going back to I think we were more liberal and we were more progressive and we were more broad-minded in our Vedic times, probably.
Hmm.
In
Hmm.
ancient India was the source. We didn't just discover Shunya and
Hmm.
Khajuraho, but we also discovered a way of life. We had the
Absolutely.
foundation of education, we had yoga, we had Ayurveda, we had the
Yep.
Kama Sutra, which was the
Abs-
art. Lovemaking was not
Absolutely.
only for producing children, it was a kala.
Absolutely.
It was a kala.
Yeah.
Men and women both had to learn how do you pleasure your partner? How
Yep.
do you
And
give
yourself.
and
Yep.
yourself? And obviously, because
Absolutely.
when you are giving pleasure, you're also going to ask for pleasure. So pleasure
Absolutely.
needed permission, and it
Absolutely.
needs permission. So, and
Ab-
intimacy also, there's no intimacy in Indian culture now. We have a lot of MCBC being used in our movies. We show women drinking and smoking, and we think that is progressiveness, that is
Correct.
liberalism, that is
Correct.
India in the 21st century. But if you
Correct.
see now, there is caste politics. Even now, there is gross child sex violations. Even now, there is no justice for rape victims. Even now, our
Now.
ministers, elected
Yeah.
men of parliament, are talking such misogynist crap about women.
Yeah.
And when they
Yeah.
are doing, I mean, I said this on a national TV channel that when the Unnao rape happened
Yeah.
again and the 3 sisters were poisoned, of course, now they're investigating whether there was a sexual abuse or not. Or even
Yeah.
if you go to Badon, if you go to Unnao, if you go to, the Nirbhaya thing, I
Yeah.
mean, this Mr. Yogi Adityanath, what is he
Yeah.
doing? You are building,
Absolutely.
you are saying ना उत्तर प्रदेश में हमने राम राज्य बना दिया, तो राम राज्य में तो सीता को आप लोग फिर
Correct.
आप माँ को तो कभी बलात्कार नहीं करेंगे, बहन को तो कभी बलात्कार नहीं करेंगे, माँ को तो कभी आप लोग अपमानित नहीं करेंगे ना, उसकी लाज लज्जा को।
लेकिन राज्य में भी श्री राम राज्य में भी सीता was asked to justify. Sita was
Yeah,
asked to tell and show that she is pure. But on that
yeah,
note, on the political climate in the country today, I was reading one of your interviews where you read an excerpt from your book Cut. And that part which gave me the goosebumps, Sri, was what if that circus is my country, my lord? What if my country is my conscience? To just live out another day, what if our nationality, our religion, our gender are all man made concepts, which are a convenient construct to make people conform? Right? Ram Rajya, going back to all of those things. Follow someone you can't see or fight? What if religion was not a loaded gun, a veiled threat, an election ticket? That is such a powerful,
oh,
powerful part from your book,
huge,
Sri.
huge. And somehow cut is so contemporary
It
because
is.
everything we are seeing in the country now, the arrest of public intellectuals like Varavara Rao, student leaders like Umar Khalid,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
on the pretext of them being urban Naxals. So this
mm-hmm,
sedition law has suddenly been invoked like some holy divine scripture.
mm-hmm.
And you see that it's there in cut from the same paragraph where you're reading from, that
Mm.
sedition was a law that the British started to
Correct.
basically, sort
Keep
of
the
put
Indians down.
down,
Yeah.
yeah, put down
Yeah.
one peasant uprising. Wahi sedition law ko, you are, flogging like a dead horse, and now
Yeah.
you are using it on public intellectuals, university professors, writers,
Yeah.
activists, student leaders, some cartoonists, everybody.
Yeah.
So there is
Yeah.
no freedom of speech. You are actually going against the sacred, the respected, the extremely. I think that is the Bible. So I
Yeah.
always say that I salute the Samvidhan of India.
Yeah.
The Constitution of India is my Gita.
Yeah.
In fact, we should not have this ki Gita ke upar haath rakh ke shapat lijiye. In fact, that is there in Cut, in the first
Yeah.
chapter where Amitav Kulashrestha says, what if instead
Yeah.
of the Gita, you gave me the Quran?
Yeah.
Why the Gita? Why
Yeah.
the Gita?
Yeah.
Why a Gita? If you are saying that we are a secular country, then it should
Correct.
be both Gita, Quran, Guru Granth Sahib, Bible, Lotus
Correct.
Sutra of the Buddhists, some sacred text of the Jains. Why only
Correct.
the Gita? Sab hata
Correct.
do. Just
Yeah.
keep Constitution of India. Keep
Yeah.
your hand on the Constitution of India and tell
Yeah.
the truth. Your truth.
Yeah.
Own your truth. Yeah.
Yeah. But what you just said is what we are seeing not just in India, right? And we're seeing parts of it even in Australia, and we saw it in the US during
Yes.
Trump's presidency, the whole Black Lives Movement. And, this whole intersection between patriarchy, capitalism, the neocolonial systems and structures that are meant to keep people, women and men in the margins to shut them up. But I
Yeah.
was, while I was kind of framing how to have this conversation with you, I did become nostalgic, Sri. And, growing up in India, I too was socialized, not so much by my Baba and Ma. My Baba especially was a feminist, and he raised three feminist girls and also a son. Um, Not so much by my parents as much as my ill-meaning khandan, the extended family, and we were a joint family growing up in Jamshedpur. So everybody and their pets and their cattle had an opinion on how girls should be brought up. Amake, I was called a bachal because I used to laugh so loudly. So my, jethis and kakis all used to kind of. But I was looking at thinking about. How we are socialized to be home within a certain hour, to not laugh out loud, to cover up every micro millimeter. I mean, the fact that I can see your sexy arms is such a bloody pleasure, but growing up, that is what it was, and always the onus being on women and girls to keep ourselves safe and protected, should we not get assaulted or raped. And if we did, we had to kind of explain and all. And going back to your book on Cut, which kind of talks about art as social justice, as a means for social
Yeah.
justice.
Yeah.
Correct. So, what are the different kinds of media for social reform being used in India now, given the current climate that is there,
So
which is
I think,
working?
yeah, I think online media has really been able to at least have some sense of breathing space. I see
Hmm.
some good stuff happening, feminism in India, agents of ishq.
Hmm.
There are many, now RA, there's some website called RA. I have lost my faith in traditional media completely. I used to be a journalist for so long, but I have
Hmm.
completely lost my faith because traditional media is nothing but Bodhi media. It is nothing but
Hmm.
Bharatatattu.
Hmm.
They all report to political masters. There is no
Hmm.
freedom of thought. I mean, look at television news. It's like a bloody joke. It's a
Hmm.
circus. Earlier, we
Hmm.
used to put the blame on Arnab Goswami that, he has
Hmm.
reduced television to that. Now you can't only blame Arnab. He has become a Frankenstein of his own creation.
Hmm.
But what about the others? Every
Hmm.
media channel is either this way or that way, you know. So
But the social media, do you think the social media is limited to a certain category of the
it
population,
is,
the one who
it
has
is,
access?
it is, but now who doesn't have access here? Now to even my house helps are all on
Hmm.
Facebook. The other day, the gentleman who drives me, a Dada, we all love him. He sent me a Facebook friend request. I said, you are on Facebook? I'm on LinkedIn and Instagram also. I said, Shaky, what do you write on LinkedIn? He said, why? I write that I'm gari chala, I'm not, wow, yaar. I said, I hope you're not going to quit our job. He said, no, Didi, I love you people. But my son made me do all this.
I
So
love
see,
that. Yeah.
today what I feel a lot of hope is, Navanita, that at the end of the day, a driver's son will no longer probably be a driver.
A drive, yeah.
Not that there is anything wrong in driving a car. As you know,
Yeah.
we in my family, we foster our house help's daughter. So
Yeah.
put it in the colloquial language, my sister, who
Yeah.
is legally being fostered by my parents, Sreelekha, my 11-and-a-half-year-old sister, is actually our maid's daughter. She's not my
Beautiful.
adopted daughter. But we took the decision to foster Sreelekha, whose pet name is Geru, because she was actually abandoned by her father. So the man that her mother was married to abandoned them and ran away, stole money. He was a real rotten coin. And my mother, who was then 60, my mother is 71 now, so 11 years ago, my mother decided to take in this family. So Srilekha's mother works in our house. She's a full-time house staff. And what I'm so proud of is when my sister goes to Loreto House, which is one of the most posh schools in Calcutta, and she doesn't tell lies that, her mother is working in an office, or she proudly says that my mother is a very good cook and she is a house staff, and I am raised by my Didi and Dadu and Dida, who are my parents, and her mother. I think we are also smashing the stereotype of family, which only implies a heteronormative family. Pati, patni, bacha,
Correct.
building hoga piche, then there'll be dada, dadi, nana, nani. We are smashing that as well. Who said that family only has to be blood?
Yeah, yeah, and also family, and also the socioeconomic, the caste, and all the other isms that's there. Absolutely. Yeah. And talking about family, Sri, this gets into in a very good segue into my next reflection point. Whenever I heard the word or hear the word single, right? I sense, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I sense that it's seen as something incomplete, something which is lacking, because single ke saath automatically aa jata hai double, or more, couple or more, yeah. Do you see it as a deficit word, especially when we are all in some kind of relationship? I mean, take me. I am legally married to a Homo sapien male, right? And yet I feel single, and I behave single, unapologetically so, when I want to, and conveniently so. So tell us, what does single mean to you?
So for me, single, like the definition in the community, is legally you are not married. You can be in a partnership, you can be in a live-in, you can be bisexual and have men and women. So, I get asked a lot of times, oh, this community of yours, is it against marriage?
Marriage.
Against men? No, I love men. I mean, as I said, as of now, I'm straight. But, for me, it is single women of India forward together, or a status single community. In fact, if there are any, viewers who are watching right now in Australia, we would like to extend this community to other countries as well, to Indian women living in, say, Australia, who are single, and they are looking for a platform to connect with other like-minded Asian single women, urban Asian single.
Fantastic.
Please join Status Single. It's a community page on Facebook, and we are touching now 1,000 members. But you won't imagine how many married women also write into us. Some are happily single in their marriages. Some are unhappily single in their marriages. Their husbands, and they have no physical or emotional contact, or the husband is abusive. He is cheating on the wife. He's an irresponsible man. But, she doesn't want to leave. So I have to turn down their applications. And I said, ma'am, I'm really sorry, but this is only a community for women, I mean, if you were legally separated, then I would admit you. And they say,
Hmm.
Shri, we want to get inspired. We
Hmm.
are so miserable in our marriages. So sometimes I
Hmm.
feel that, if divorce was easier for women, if the
Correct.
socio-economic structures of our conservative patriarchal society
Exactly.
did not, hold women at gunpoint, if
Yeah.
families were more accepting and open-minded towards divorced or widowed or abandoned or separated, girl child or daughters,
Yeah.
today I think half the population of the country would be single. So
Yeah.
already we are,
At more
you
than
know,
that. Absolutely.
yeah. Actually, even the figure that you quoted, which I quote,
Hmm.
in my book
Hmm.
Status
Hmm.
Single, which comprised interviews with 3,500 urban single women from all over the country.
Hmm.
These figures are the census figures 10 years ago.
10 years.
So,
Hmm.
yeah, so actually the census was supposed to happen last year. It happens every 10 years, but because of COVID, it didn't. So I
Hmm.
hope 2021, the census happens. I am very much convinced we are
Fine.
close to 100 million now because the triple
Possibly.
talaq has also happened. So
Correct. Possibly.
there are a lot of Muslim women who've got freed from, the unfairness of their marriages as well.
Yep.
So to
Yep.
me, single means extremely empowered, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm a very privileged, empowered, extremely badass, free
Yeah.
spirited woman. See,
Yeah.
like people ask me, I was interviewed by BBC a couple of days ago, and the lady
Yeah.
interviewing me said, "Oh, Sreemoyee, you live with your parents." I said, "No, I don't. They live with me. It's my house."
Yes. Thank you.
Why
Correct.
do you say this? That what made you say that? No,
Yeah.
you're not married. I said, so? But it was a choice because
Yeah.
3 years ago, when my family relocated from Delhi to Kolkata, because we were promoting our ancestral house in Jodhpur Park, and it was
Yeah.
time for the handover. I told my parents that I want to come back to Calcutta with you all. I had missed
Yeah.
Calcutta. I moved away from Calcutta for 20 years, so I
Yeah.
don't know much about Calcutta. So
Yeah.
I said, no, I'll come back with you guys. So today I told this journalist interviewing me that you please ask my parents, aged 71, my mother and my father is younger to my mother by 14 years. He's
Yeah.
58. So I said, ask these two, like I call them my crazies. So I said, ask the crazies how it is living with me. And my
Yeah.
sister, who is 11, look at our family. My mother
Yeah.
is 71, my father is 58, my
Yeah.
sister is 11 and a half, and I'm 43. I said,
Yeah.
ask them because they are
Exactly.
having to constantly adjust to me. I'm not
Yeah.
changing. And I said,
Yeah.
this is my inheritance. This is my grandparents' ancestral home. My mother's the only child. I'm the only child. ये तो घर तो मेरा है.
Mm.
So even if I find a guy or a lover, he'll come. He
Mm.
has to come. I
Yep.
might go,
What?
but I'm not leaving this palace, my kingdom, my
Your queendom, absolutely. But tell me, talking about the pandemic, did you see mental health as an issue within this community
yes.
of?
There were three things, Navanita, which were a
Mm,
big problem or a
mm,
gray area in our community, which led to me starting my chat show. Again, I will
mm,
request your viewers to check out my YouTube channel, Sreemoyee Kundu, and the chat show is called Status Single with Sri. We have just
mm,
completed 3 seasons of that. Because I realized that women needed a safe space. Women needed a place where they could just come and talk and, so basically, what happened is that these women are women who faced, one was a huge economic crisis, huge
mm,
economic crisis because women were losing their jobs, women
mm,
were losing their livelihoods. There were single women, single mothers, who had to take loans from the bank, and they
mm,
had to buy another laptop or a second phone because their children were suddenly put into this kind of online education model,
mm,
right? So it was very hard. And then there were women who, like I said, they were kind of going through this phase where they were completely alone. So either very young single women who lived in messes, PGs,
mm,
all their
mm,
roommates had gone. They were the only ones who didn't travel because they had
mm,
old parents. They were scared to carry the infection.
mm,
Then there were
mm,
older single women,
mm,
like widows, mainly a lot of widows who were in
mm,
their 60s 60s, late 60s, 70s, children lived in Australia, England,
Mm,
US. They couldn't come. Then their
mm.
caregivers were also not coming, in the initial times
They
of the
must have been
lockdown.
so vulnerable. Yep.
Women with disability who were also living
Mm,
alone and working. So I think mental health and financial
mm,
instability and
mm.
caregiving, the emotional labor, the unpaid emotional, physical
Yep.
labor of caregiving, these were
Yep.
the three massive problem
Yep.
areas during the lockdown for our
Yep.
community. It was,
Yep.
but we have become stronger as a community. I think
Fantastic.
the lockdown has brought us closer. Now we have calls every Sunday, which are
Excellent.
community calls. It's lovely.
Excellent.
So yeah, I mean, I think
I'm going to share in my networks, Sri,
please,
about this. It's so, and it would be fantastic for single women and trans women, I'm assuming as well,
yes, yes,
in
yes, yes.
Australia and anywhere else. To what we'll do is we'll have Saleha post the links to your chat that you have, and also the group that you mentioned.
Yeah, sure, sure,
And
sure.
yeah, viewers, please join in. Sri, the last part of tonight, I was thinking that in a world that soaks up, and especially now with working from home and the whole lockdown, virtual, there's endless Zoom meetings and all of that. In a world that soaks up lame hashtags, I call them really lame hashtags, that like everybody and anyone is a bloody keyboard activist.
That's
And
true.
flaky ideals from flaky humans, how can people be compelled to pause and really deeply interrogate our own hypocrisies, our own bigotries, and our own prejudices? That those that continue to foster patriarchy. And just for context, for people listening in, the Oxford Dictionary explains patriarchy as a system of society or government, and Shri has given so many examples. A system of society or government where men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. And all of us at some point we have experienced and we keep on experiencing,
Hmm.
which also includes the gender pay inequity that exists and so many more. So tell us how, in what all ways, Sri, you are compelling people, forcing people to be self-reflective, and take actions, even tiny actions, to smash patriarchy. And what
So
is
I think,
working?
my community is a place of great empowerment, Navanita, because here we are looking at women from various cross sections of life. And for the
Hmm,
first time, women are proudly reclaiming their own identity as
hmm,
women. You're
hmm,
not somebody's daughter, you're not somebody's sister, you're not somebody's wife. And people are proud to be single. There's,
hmm,
whether your marriage broke up, whether you lost your husband, whether you were abandoned, whether, like me, you've never been married. It's nothing to be
hmm,
ashamed of.
hmm,
There's nothing to feel that you missed the bus, that your biological time, that bomb or whatever crap, which is
hmm,
such shit. Because today, with modern science and women being economically empowered, you don't need a man if you really want to be a biological mother. You just
yeah,
have to get high quality sperm,
that's
and
it.
you need a good IVF specialist to put your faith in. And
Yeah,
of course, it's a treatment, so it involves
yeah,
physical labor as well and
yeah,
mental strength, but you can be a mother. So
yeah.
I think we have busted the last bastion of patriarchy where
Hmm,
बच्चे का बाप कौन होगा, it doesn't really matter. Even
hmm,
today on a passport, for instance, or in a school certificate, we don't need the father's identity.
hmm,
Like
hmm,
my sister's passport doesn't have her
hmm,
father's identity. And if the
hmm,
man is missing, say he has abandoned a woman and they are missing for 7 years, he's dead.
hmm,
By
hmm,
law, if a man is missing for 7 years, you can assume that he's dead. So I
hmm,
tell my sister that he left you when you're 5, you're 11 now, you know,
hmm,
just another year or two, and then you just write late so and so, your father is dead.
hmm,
And if he
hmm,
comes back
hmm,
after 20 years when you're well settled saying, Ami tomar baba, I'm your father,
hmm,
you just show him the door. That's it.
hmm, hmm.
Yeah. So,
Absolutely.
so I think
Absolutely.
by being who we are, by being who we are, and like
Yeah.
I say, don't keep blaming the, oh, my parents are very conservative. India is a conservative country. Every country is conservative in its own way.
Yeah.
Single women have similar dilemmas, similar housing discriminations,
Absolutely.
social isolation, similar family prejudices in every society. Yeah, of
Absolutely.
course we are backward in many ways, but then who is going to change that? Only us. We have to
Exactly.
bust, these smash the stereotypes. We have to, use our voices. We have to support each other, form communities. Like, see, today we are talking. Maybe another talk we'll just do on single women. And
Yeah.
I would love to know about
Absolutely.
single women in Australia. How is it for them?
Abs-
Maybe we can,
Absolutely.
so many things we can do. Today the world is just not a unilinear, unidimensional
Exactly.
existence. Thanks to
Exactly.
internet, thanks to social media, thanks to many, this WhatsApp, this, that. Today we are connected. Time is
Exactly.
relative. Continents are,
Absolutely.
the only map I believe that is relevant to us is the map of the human heart. And as long as
Absolutely.
that is intact, any change, any transformation, any inner revolution, any crisis being solved, hands, hearts, bodies, minds will and should come together.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more, and you've said it absolutely spot on. And normalizing conversations such as this, making
Yeah,
it like I have a
mainstream,
9 year old.
becoming
Correct. I have
mainstream.
exactly. I have a 9 year old daughter, and I mean, she turned into a feminist when she was in my womb, Sri,
Yeah,
literally
lovely.
9 years ago. And
Yeah,
it continues, the journey continues for her. And there are no, I mean, we have all kinds of discussions within
as
the
you
frame
should.
of what will,
Yeah.
as we should. Absolutely. And,
So,
last night, no, not,
when my sister had her
yeah,
period in October
yeah,
2020, I'm not interrupting, I'm just added to what you're saying.
yeah,
So, periods is a big taboo in India, right? Nobody talks about menstrual health. I remember, I threw a big party for her when she had her periods.
yeah,
And I knew it was coming because I could see the shape of her breasts change. I could see her hips becoming more shapely. She had pubic
yeah,
hair, she had hair under her armpits. So
yeah,
I knew it's about time. So when she had it that day, it was so much of
yeah,
fun because before that, I had taken her out to buy her period panties and
yeah,
panty liners, and
yeah,
she had an intimate wash. I had a wonderful night where we ate ice cream and we watched Korean drama, and I told her about sex and the penis
yeah,
and the vagina. And ever
yeah,
since my sister was 5 years old, she knows what she doesn't call her. Like in India, they call it choo choo, this, that, and
yeah,
no. My sister,
yeah,
and in fact, when I taught her the word vagina, she loved it
yeah,
so much. She used to blur. It became an embarrassment because my
yeah.
father would come back from office and Geru would say, Dadu, তুমি জানো what is vagina? Where is your vagina? So,
I don't have
that
one, darling. I have a penis.
yeah.
Right. And Dadu could not say that. I totally get it.
Dadu used
I
to tell
relate.
her, Dadu told her that no, men don't have vagina. Men have something
Fantastic.
called a penis. And so when
Fantastic.
she had her period, my father downloaded a period tracker for her, on her phone. So she tracks her own period. She knows, okay, I got it, this and that. And
Yeah.
after that, we did a pillow talk, where we got on a Zoom call with her friends, and we talked
Yeah.
about their bodies. We talked about, I told her about masturbation. I said, right now you're 11 and a half, so you don't, but your body will change because your
Yeah.
mind will change. And with
Yeah.
the influx of hormones, like right now they're going through that very awkward phase. Oh, we don't like boys,
Yeah.
kissing, but
Yeah.
I said it's all going to change. I mean, you may love girls also, or you might love
Yeah.
boys, but I think my
Or you
sister's
may not love anyone.
may not love
Yep.
maybe
Yep.
asexual, so it's all
Yep.
good. So, or
Yep.
whatever. So my sister, I think, the way I celebrated her first period, that became a talking point because it was covered in newspapers here, and
Yeah.
school
Right.
called up, and her school said, whenever classes start, then why don't you come and do a talk for other parents. So you see, the thing is, we've always looked at sex as very dirty.
Yeah.
We've always looked at sex as something which has to operate within the moral, the Lakshman Rekha of a relationship or a
Yeah.
monogamous marriage. We don't,
Correct.
this is why we always look at adultery as a punishable offense.
Mm.
Marriages break up because of adultery, right? But see, if we normalize conversations
Correct.
about power, about femininity, about masculinity,
Yeah.
about masturbation, about menstruation, I think what we are doing is we are going back to who we already are. We are
Absolutely.
people. Nothing is changing. You
Absolutely.
mentioned the aborigines, at the beginning of your conversation. If you go into any tribal society, you'll see mainly they are matrilineal, and you
Absolutely.
will also see that they believe in nature worship. They are not much into idol worship. They
Hmm.
believe in tribes where the matriarch takes the decisions. Even
Yep.
if she wants to have sex with two men, it's she who will say that, okay, I have a husband, I have a lover. Whereas
Yep.
now, if you see, like in it, I was telling this to a person the other day. I said, look, if you look at our gods, for instance, most of the male deities have a consort on a concubine. So why
Yep.
are you denying women that right? Maybe we need a pleasure giver and we need a provider.
Yep.
So maybe we
Yep.
need two, maybe we need 20, maybe we need 200. Who are you to
Yep.
control it?
Exactly. Exactly. And on that note, Sri, can I say how much I loved talking? How much we can go on and on. And I
Yeah,
just hope that this connection remains open. It would be
I hope so.
fantastic to
We should do this
absolutely.
conversation in Melbourne, Navanita. You work on a women's festival, a women's festival in Melbourne. I
That
think
will be
Melbourne is
brilliant.
such a melting pot. I will help you put it together. There are such fantastic speakers and
Mm,
intellectuals and minds have, and it should be the best of, the diaspora of Australia and the best of India. And women, make it
absolutely.
about women, the power of women, and how similar we are, though we are separated by geography. But like
Exactly.
I said, the only map that matters and can transform human existence, and raise our consciousness from material to humanism is the heart. So we have to
Absolutely.
activate the heart chakra. We have to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Inshallah, we'll meet one day and this festival happen. Thank you so much. And thank you to
So
our
much.
viewers. Have a wonderful night. Shabakhe. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.